What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land, and I am your host once again, Dan Thornton. Want to thank you all for joining us here today. Lions Talk Live Friday morning show edition, and late last night, early this morning, based on, I guess, where you're living, I guess the time frames or days could be different, but it sounds like the Detroit Lions, at least somewhat, got a response from Mike McDaniels. Mike McDaniels, we're going to talk about today, might just be interested in the Detroit Lions more than anywhere else. We're going to dive into this. There were a couple caveats, I'm being told, being part of that. He is going to potentially come on in an interview with the Detroit Lions, but he's also not going to rule out some other opportunities. Again, we got some information. Didn't feel like going on air around 11:30 last night, so I figured I'd save it for the morning show. We're going to go into it momentarily. Also, Anthony from Rural Lions UK might be jumping in today. He's trying to Scooby-Doo his schedule to kind of join us and talk about this all. I think we can all agree, though. Brad Holmes made the initial call to Mike McDaniels. Mike McDaniels, Lions didn't hear anything from him until they did hear things from him. As you can tell from the main thumbnail for today's show, this might just be a perfect marriage. He may understand that. We'll get into that momentarily. All right, before we get into that, the 5 headlines now, everything in between. If you haven't done it by now, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're, whatever it is, 40-some subs away from hitting 16,100. If you can help out with that, I'll give you a crisp, clean, free of charge high five. Also, if you got a half second of time, hit the thumbs up button, the like button, hit all the buttons. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 more. Thumbs up for likes. Last, never least, if you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan where I live or the continental United States, go ahead and reach out to me, 269-998-2384. Can try to help you out, save some time, save some money, save some hassle. Done it over 30 years. Somebody wants to watch your back, make sure nobody's overcharging you, overworking you, trying to slide something in there. Then go ahead and give me a call, shoot me a text. We'll go from there. I know a number you do. So, all right, want to get into this right off the bat. So we'll do the main top of the day. Then we'll get into the 5 headlines now. See if perhaps Anthony from Rural Lions UK can join us as well. But let's start with this. Mike McDaniel, you guys get it. When he was released yesterday of his duties from the Miami Dolphins, everybody came calling. He's looked at a bunch of different information, and it sounds like he is going to come over and interview with the Detroit Lions. The caveat I'm being told is he has a couple of things he's trying to seek. He's trying to seek another head coaching job. As a coach myself, I don't have any issues with that. If he can get another contract, a 3-5-year deal to be the head coach of someone, namely the Cleveland Browns, he's probably going to look into that first and foremost. If that doesn't happen, though, what I'm told is Mike McDaniels wants to be the OC. He also wants to have a say to a certain degree in draft selections of any offensive players. Basically, in a nutshell, he wants to make sure it's going to fit his system. And while none of this is formal conversations, when he responded to the Detroit Lions yesterday, he did say, hey, I'm just going to put this out. I'm paraphrasing, not like I listened to the phone call, but he put it out there that he would want to have a say in some of the stuff, including the running back situation. I don't know the full details with this, but I can assume he's going to want people that fits his style. Whether or not Dave Montgomery is going to be here or not, that's a separate video, maybe later today. If you watched the presser for Brad Holmes yesterday, you probably got some sense that Brad Holmes chose his words fairly carefully when it came to Dave Montgomery. He didn't say he wouldn't be here. It also didn't sound like he was horribly supportive of David Montgomery returning to the team. Getting back to Josh McDaniels, here's what I can say from analyzing his time as an OC, and I don't watch a ton of his work, but I've watched enough to be able to say this. Guy's a brilliant offensive mind. I think he's a terrible head coach. That's just my opinion. I don't think he's got the right personality to handle personalities. When you're a head coach at any level, any sport, one of your biggest things is trying to get everybody else's personalities to work together in a common goal. I always like to use the phrase pedal the bike, get everybody going in the same direction. I don't think that's one of the strengths of Mike McDaniels. But as an offensive coordinator, I would throw this at you guys. Start with the running game and then move on to the passing games. Watch what McDaniels has done in multiple different spots with not always ideal offensive linemen and how to Scooby-Doo or figure out how to get the running game to work, how to play to those strengths. From there, he moves on to the passing game. And if you look at his time just at Miami, does Tyreek Hill seem a lot like Jameson Williams? They're not the same player. I'm not trying to say they're apples to apples, but I think you see a lot of similarities there, and you can see how Jay Powell could really go Jay Wow under Mike McDaniels. How about Amon-Ra St. Brown? It's hard to imagine he would do even more, but to a certain degree, I think that is the case. You might ask him to do less in order to do more. You know, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think we all agree if you watch McDaniel's systems, he would probably ascend to another level because he'd be used in so many different ways. No disrespect to Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, John Morton, anybody else. I just think he would be more of a highlighted aspect of the package. Sam Laporta is probably just going to be Sam Laporta, going to go out there and do things all over the place. But you're also talking about, in my opinion, one of the biggest changes under Sheila Ford Hamp that we have ever seen. If she's really given the green light to go and sign, Mike McDaniels is going to be the most sought-after offensive coordinator in the NFL this offseason. He's going to get the biggest payday any of us have ever seen for an OC or positional coordinator. He's probably going to get, man, I don't even want to speculate on how much he's going to get, but his pay might supersede some head coach's pay. I think we all need to understand he's going to be A, in that kind of demand, and B, be able to command it. That's a good situation if you're a coach. Everybody's going to want you. You're going to be in a bidding war for him. And if he does get that kind of money, I'm going to throw this out there to everybody out watching this show either live or later on in the day. It probably means that Brad Holmes has already gotten the okay from Sheila Ford to Hamp to go ahead and restructure those deals. Take that, whatever it's going to be, $130 million, and invest it in the here and now with this team. Probably means the team's all in it to win it. There's no way you're going to pay Mike McDaniels that kind of money and then say, hey, let's go, dollar bin shopping for players. You're making a massive commitment, one that we've never seen from the Ford family. I don't care if it's the Hamp family, the Ford family, you get it. You'd be making just a generational investment into the next several years. Mike McDaniels, if he does select the Detroit Lions over everybody else, stop when you've probably had to consider this. He's probably a one, maybe at the best 2-year rental for Lions, because if he really comes in with all these weapons, if he really does have helpful say in the draft, if the Lions go, offensive lineman or whatever they go in the first round, second round, then he's here to win it now. He's here to revitalize his head coaching opportunities going forward. We can all say, hey, Ben Johnson did us dirty by leaving to go to the Chicago Bears. But let's be fair. Ben Johnson is a professional coach. He is looking out for his career advancement and his family. Because of that, Mike McDaniels will be no different, or whoever else you hire. If he catches fire, this offense, which is already pretty stacked and loaded, goes to yet another level, and the Lions make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, whatever, and he will have had an opportunity to push his stock up. And yes, that means probably quicker than not, he will be departing the Detroit Lions. First things first, though, Lions got to get him. I've been told he's going to interview at Cleveland and a couple other spots for potentially the head coaching spots. If he gets that opportunity to be a head coach again right away, he's going to take that. I don't think there's any problems with it. The other part of it is, it sounds like the Washington Redskins want to hire him as an OC, and a few other teams have reached out. It's going to be a bidding war. So brace for impact if you're a Lions fan. It's going to ultimately come down to what MCDC, Brad Holmes, and Sheila Ford Hamp can offer him that other teams can't. My opinion, take it for what it's worth, based on all the available information at 7:10 a.m. on a Eastern Standard Time on a Friday morning. It's going to be a bidding war. He understands that. Now, moving on from that, with the presser yesterday, we already kind of mentioned it, Dave Montgomery. I would have to say he's probably on shaky ice right now as far as his Lions' future with the team. I think everybody watching the show loves the guy, loves him in the locker room, thinks he's a good player. For whatever the metrics may be, we saw his playing time or snap count go down big time this year. And reading it, Brad Holmes' body language, he didn't really want to give a ringing endorsement for Dave Montgomery. Not that he said anything ill about him, but anytime you don't give support of somebody, you're probably showing your lack of support for somebody. We'll have to address that all in a separate video, maybe today or tomorrow. But I do think Dave Montgomery, based on yesterday's Brad Holmes presser, is probably on the outside looking in going forward. Mike McDaniels, what do you guys think he would bring to the table? I've already talked about my opinion that the running game is probably going to pop through the roof. Same with the passing game. Ask yourself this. Compare Jared Goff to Tua. Who do you think is actually the better quarterback? In my opinion, for whatever it's worth, I think Jared Goff, A, is more sturdy, B, isn't afraid to take a hit, especially after this season, where Tua, and no disrespect to the young man, he's taken a ton of hits to the head. I don't even think he should be an NFL quarterback at this point. His family really should have stepped in a year ago and said, hey, you are messing with your future health and everything else. That being said, he is selected to be an NFL quarterback. I don't think Tua throws the ball mid-range or deep down the field very well. I think Goff is pretty good at mid-range. Down the field, not great, but not bad. Short is pretty good. I think McDaniels probably looks at Goff and says, out of the available OC positions that I have in front of me, who has the best quarterback and offensive weapons, skilled position players that I could deal with? If you can think of somebody that's out there that's better than the Detroit Lions, I'm not seeing it. I would love to hear your opinions. Now, can they go ahead and get them? The bidding war is about to begin in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to guess right now, if he doesn't get a head coaching job, Mike McDaniels probably somewhere in the next 3 weeks, maybe 4 on the outside, is going to be a Detroit Lion. I'm going to throw this question out at you, and I don't have any information to support this. If you do hire Mike McDaniels for that, OC job, and you are going to make him the highest paid positional coach or coordinator in NFL history, do you double down and go after someone on the defensive side of the ball? Nothing against Kelvin Shepard. I like him. I just haven't seen enough of him, what he's been able to do on the field, especially in games, to be able to say, if we're really making this kind of investment in Mike McDaniels and going to free up 100 to 130 million in salary cap space to go out and get 3, 4, 5 premium players to come in and help this team get to the Super Bowl, are you really going to have any questions about the defensive coordinator spot? My answer to that is no. You're going to probably put forth somewhere around the neighborhood of 200 million between, well, maybe a little less than that. We'll just say 150 million between free agency and Mike McDaniels. Are you really going to worry at that point about another 5 to 8 million for a proven defensive coordinator? There's some names out there. You guys have heard them. You might be able to go after the defense coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. If you go for him, I would love our situation. You have an incredibly aggressive DC and OC matching up. To me, if you're going to play football like that, you got to play complementary. You can't go conservative on one side and aggressive on the other side. I do think that the Lions potentially could make a change at DC, although I don't think any of us dislike Kelvin Shepard. I just don't know if there's enough evidence how good or bad he is or was this past season to really say, I'm all in it to win it with that guy. I like Kelvin Shepard. I think he needs more seasoning. I think if you gave him 2 or 3 more seasons, he's probably going to be one of the better defense coordinators in the National Football League. With that being said, the Vikings, I think if we watch them throughout the season, one of the reasons why they did get back over 500 this year is because of Brian Flores. Flores, you guys get it. He's all over the place with the blitz pickups. He puts a lot of stress on communications with those blocking assignments, the offensive line. 1 or 2 mistakes a game usually means a couple sacks, a couple turnovers. Could the Lions really benefit from it? I think so. Are there other names you think are going to come out there? Todd Bowles, it does not look like he's going to be relieved of his duties from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Otherwise, that probably would have been all over him as well. But he just let go of a couple of his coaches in Tampa Bay. I'm assuming that means he's safe for another season, but you never know. Think about Mike McDaniels. He was a part of the interview process for the new general manager for the Miami Dolphins. And for those efforts, he was let go. So, I wouldn't rule anything on or off at this point. I've given you a whole lot of information to consider right now, and we haven't even gotten to the 5 headlines now. But if you to give me a list who should be the new offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, give me your top 5. I think it's Mike McDaniels and then everybody else. And that's not a slight on any other coach. It's just watching him. I can only give you my opinion. The fact that he's been able to take Tua and do what he's done, plus a mediocre offensive line, not a great running game, not horrible. He has had some premium skilled position players and at the wide receiver tight end spot. So I think the Lions match up and probably even supersede that. So how good could the Detroit Lions offense be? Think about how good they've been the last 3 or 4 years. I think he takes them to yet another level, especially if they pan out and correct the offensive line. Let me know your thoughts. And if you're Mike McDaniels, which job out there right now, as far as an OC, is the most likely to compel you into a new head coaching spot if you knock the cover off the ball? I think it's the Detroit Lions. I think it's hands down. I don't think it's even close somewhere else. All right, I've given you all that information. Let's go over into the 5 headlines now. I don't know if Anthony from Roar Lions UK will join us. I know he was trying to work on it. So 1, 2, 3, 5 headlines now. All right, let's kick this off, make this quick so we can get to the Duke Crew comment section. 5 questions we want answered in Lions GM Brad Holmes press conference, SB Nation, story by Jeremy Risman. After the presser, there probably was more than 5 questions to ask or get answered. One of them is going to be what are the Lions going to do with the offensive line? Brad Holmes kind of talked about it. So let's just say this. It doesn't sound like Frank Ragnow is coming back. Whatever happened between that situation right around Thanksgiving where he was coming back and then the injury, it feels like it left a sour taste in the Lions organization's mouth. So, maybe something changes and we're all caught off guard, but let's take Frank Ragnow's coming back from retirement off the table. Tate Ratledge, I do think it's part of their plans. I don't think it's a firm plan at this point, but I do think they are highly considering Tate Ratledge at center for the Detroit Lions. My opinion, if Ratledge came out this year, he probably would be the number 1 center out there. I just don't think it's a great center class. I've been on record for a while now saying if the Lions are really going to go for Mike McDaniels or whoever else at OC, free up all this money, invest, then you need to take about $20-25 million and go get Linderbaum from the Ravens. You can go get the Colts center too. He's a step down. He's a step up for the Detroit Lions. Linderbaum's probably the home run selection there. Giovanni Manu, I know probably anybody watching the interview felt the same way as what I'm about to say. It doesn't sound like Brad Holmes has a whole lot of faith in Giovanni to be a right tackle, left tackle for the Detroit Lions next year. I can only say this, watching him from when he was drafted to last preseason, I think he's improved a ton. I don't think you're putting Jared Goff's future on the line by putting him out there over and over and over. Wait and see what shakes out there. Should he have done more defensive end? Hey, Brad Holmes isn't going to really listen to you, me, or anybody in between. The only thing I would say is Brad Holmes, I think, confirmed that he did try to make some moves during the last draft and free agency window to try to acquire somebody. He didn't go into specifics. The only thing he said is, and I'm paraphrasing here, before the draft last year, they tried to make some moves. During the summer, they tried to make some moves. Leading up to the trade deadline, guess what? They tried to make some moves. But it does take 2 to dance. And he does point that out, and as he has the last few drafts, that, hey, he's made tons of calls, but that team, if you're Detroit, you're picking at 28, and you want to move up to 15 or something like that, you got to get them to say yes. You can offer a whole lot of stuff, but unless you're just mortgage the farm for one player, he doesn't want to do that. I think Brad's biggest offseason is right now, and I know we probably all agree, if him and Dan Campbell drop the ball next year, they're both probably in some real trouble, and I don't think either one of them are oblivious to it. If there's ever a year for Brad Holmes to say, we're signing that check to get a Mike McDaniels or Brian Flores or whoever else, it's this year because they understand Lions don't win next year. It's not good for their careers. That's also why I think they're going to probably restructure those contracts. So this free agency window, I think it's going to be the most active we've ever seen for the Detroit Lions and probably going to extend into the draft. All right, next one up here. Lions can once again parlay momentum from a clutch finale into a new season. Sideline report, Max tomorrow. Everybody's going to have different opinions on this one. My opinion is this. The Lions, by finishing strong, you help salvage some of that locker room. You feel a certain way going into the offseason. I can only identify this from my own coaching experience. When you win that last game, everything's different for the next several months in the offseason. Momentum's high. You heal better. You're more, conducive to have everybody kind of come together, do preseason workouts, conditioning, the whole shebang and bang. You get that kind of stuff going. I think it pays a big dividends for the Detroit Lions. This particular article goes through all of it. I think you're going to see more ownership. This article doesn't specifically go into it, but I think you're going to see more ownership from the pseudo vets on the team now. St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Aiden Hudson, Aleem McNeil, whoever else you want to throw out there, probably Captain Jack Bryan Branch. I think you're going to see the core components come together and say, yes, we want this guy to be the OC, the DC. We want to have help say in who we select or develop on this team and maybe go out and sign. I'll be willing to restructure my contract if I know you're trying to get this guy. I think it's all in it to win it this offseason. This report kind of highlights it, and I agree with it. All right, Lions Brad Holmes cast doubt upon Dave Montgomery's 26th return. Story by Josh Elmer, Lions Wire. I already talked about this, so I don't want to beat this one up a ton. But if you're Dave Montgomery, you kind of put this on blast with your social media post near the end of the year. And now speculation's running rampant. Yes, if the Lions cut him, they're only really going to save about $5 million. And in my opinion, if you do it, you're drafting a running back unless you believe Sailors or Baki are the heir apparent to Dave Montgomery's snap counts. Now, if you're really going to commit to Gibbs getting 60, 70% of the snaps, to me, it makes sense. You can take that $5 million savings, probably go get some, mid-level, C-level players, A being the 20, 25 million, B being the 10 to 18 million player, and a C-level player below 10 million. Where you would invest it, I don't know, but I think running backs, you can find quite a few that come on in if you don't think it's going to be Baki or Sailors to take his spots. But, the only thing I can say, guys, is how I interpreted Brad Holmes' lack of endorsement of Dave Montgomery is he's probably on the outside looking in next year. All right, Detroit Lions reportedly contact recently fired head coach about OC job, MLive Jacob Richmond. You can check out this story. And the only reason why I threw it up here is there are some details that I didn't hear about, but when I was getting ready to do this show. So last night I already talked about it. I got confirmation from some Detroit area reporters that, yes, Mike McDaniels did respond to the Detroit Lions organization. And, you can go back and rewind it all, outline some things he would be looking for if he was to accept the job here or anywhere, just so they were on the same page. MLive's got some articles in here, or information in here, I should say, kind of further doubles down at it. He's 42. We all understand he came to power basically, I don't know, when he was like 35 and 37 years old, and he's a heck of an OC. So check out that story if you get time today. I think it's a good read if you're just sitting around maybe trying to survive this rain that we're getting. All right, last of the 5 headlines now. Brad Holmes raises eyebrows discussing defensive end Detroit Lions and SI John Macron. So I know nobody wants to hear it, but did Brad Holmes do anything to dispel the rumor that Marcus Davenport might not be returning to the Detroit Lions? And sadly, my own opinion is no, he didn't. He did talk a little bit about Muhammad coming back, Levi Onwuzurike, Tyra Sweet, Josh Pascal to a certain degree. Does also kind of loosely worded talk about Ahmed Hassani. Because right now, the only people really under contract at those positions for the Detroit Lions are Hassani and Aiden Hutchinson. Is that a ringing endorsement that maybe the coaching staff and Brad Holmes believe in Ahmed Hassani next year? I think so, but I also think that he was really careful to talk about, like he was with Dave Montgomery, what they're going to do for Muhammad and Levi. And the fact he didn't rule out Marcus Davenport, I don't know, Pierce in the comment section, probably most of you guys in the comment section were mortified by that. But the Lions are going to have to do something. Maybe it's just drafting defensive ends. I think you need to get 1 or 2 vets, even if you're going to draft somebody to come on in. The Lions are going to be in a real ideal situation where they're currently selecting to trade up or trade back. I've been talking about that sometime. Last year, I get why you couldn't pull the trigger. I do think they wanted to get the one guy who, Pierce Jr., who ultimately went to Atlanta. I think the Lions did try to make the trade up. They just didn't have enough firepower to supersede the offers that the Atlanta Falcons put out there. And I get it. You were getting a first-round pick I wouldn't have done it. Maybe some of you guys would have. I just don't know if I like Pierce. I don't think I liked him that much. So, but this year with the Detroit Lions, if they want to trade up from 17 to 15 to 13, I don't think it's going to be as costly, especially with all the positional groups that are basically the same. So it's really, you're going to like this guy better than that guy. Otherwise, you'll be able to get a fairly comparable one from 13 to 17 or 18. So, all right, that's all I got for the 5 headlines. Now let's get over to the Duke Crew comment section. Again, we'll see if Anthony from Roar Lions UK is able to join us today. If he's not, then hey, you guys are stuck with me, and sorry for your losses. All right, let me scroll to the top of the screen. All right, Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dan and Duke Crew. What a team, what a podcast, exclamation point. What a time, be a Lions fan. Woo! And back at you, going in. Coach, is it true McDaniels agreed to come in for an interview with the team? I don't know about establishing a time to come, but it does sound like he is incredibly open to being with the Detroit Lions. And why wouldn't he be? He's an offensive-minded coach. Lions arguably have the best trio of wide receivers in the NFL. You guys could probably come up with another team or two that are roughly in the same boat as the Detroit Lions, but I don't think there's anybody in the National Football League that can say we clearly have a better trio. Now you add in Sam Laporta, Gibbs, Montgomery if he's here, and whatever else they do in the draft. I think the Lions are in an ideal situation for an offensive-minded coach. Pay attention the next week or two. We'll probably get more information to confirm one way or the other where Mike McDaniels is going. Mo Booth, good morning, Duke Crew. I love Fest is real. The Love Fest is real. Woo! We'll go with that boat. Trey, what's good, everybody? Question mark. Heard late last night McDaniels said he would take the interview and consider our job if he doesn't get any head offers. Yeah, I think that's the only thing that could potentially keep him from coming to Detroit. And again, I don't disagree with it. If the Raiders offer him the head coaching job, he'd be an idiot not to take it. Same with Cleveland Browns or whoever else might line up to offer him a head coaching job. Just greetings, salutations, Duke Crew. Anyone else get hit with high winds and a ton of rain last night? Question mark. Sounds like Monty is gone, sadly. I know here right around whatever time, 9:30, 10 o'clock last night, yeah, the winds picked up and rain. Hopefully everybody is okay. I know some of northern Michigan and some of the other surrounding areas are about ready to get slammed with a ton of snow this weekend. And I agree with you on Monty. Okay, good morning, Duke Crew, One Pride. Well, come on down. You're the next contestant on who will be our new OC. I like it. We can make a game show about that. And good morning, Drake. I was impressed with what McDaniels did with the Miami Dolphins, even though they didn't have a good quarterback or O-line. Yeah, he's pretty creative. He found a way to kind of make what talent they have shine. So I agree with you there, 100%, Drake. David, we are too cheap as a franchise to afford him. That might be accurate, but if Sheila's really offered Brad Holmes the ability to go out and write whatever checks you need to, then I'm going to say this. If ever there's a point in Detroit Lions history since the 1950s to push those chips into the middle of the table, I think it's now, and I don't think she's oblivious to it. I think Sheila Hamp is pretty smart. I think she's pretty savvy as a business owner, or at least partial owner, to all the different franchises she's connected to. Don't forget, she's a part of multiple different generational franchises, not just Ford, not just Firestone, but you guys get it. She's a part of a whole lot of stuff. So to that point, I think she's probably, my best guess would be, she's told Brad Holmes, go do what you got to do. We'll fill the checks out. Because you guys get it, as much as season tickets have risen in Detroit, Lions got some money right now. And I don't think she's afraid to reinvest in the franchise, unlike some of her predecessors. Okay, I hope not. Jocelyn, Monty should be a keeper. Exclamation point. Let's hope so. Henry and Bo, good morning, fellas. JC, greetings, salutations, Coach and Crew. Exclamation point. Back at you. France, David, I agree. But if ever there was a moment to go after it, yeah, in your opinion, it's now. McDaniels would make everyone forget about Ben Johnson and allow MCDC to focus on being the head coach. And that's the other aspect of it. I think it's not a huge impact, but let's just say Dan Campbell has to take 15% of his average workday away. It's probably more like 30 to 40%, but you guys get my gist. If he can't spend as much time on details with other aspects of being the head coach, because he's now got to be the OC, he's distracted. And this is what I was saying leading into last year's Washington Commanders game. I don't care what kind of detail-orientated coach you are. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn did not have the same approach going into that Washington Commanders game because they had to spend so much time prepping for their interviews. There's only so many hours in one day, let alone 4 days, 5 days leading up to your normal preparation standpoints for the Washington Commanders. Let's just assume that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are as human as you, me, and everybody else watching the show. If they take away 15, 20, 30, 50% of their normal work time watching film, game planning, understanding the formations, whatever it is to get ready for Washington, then you know what? The team was less prepared. To your point right now, I just think if you can free up more time for Dan Campbell to be Dan Campbell, he's going to have a better return on your investment as the head coach. Maybe McDaniels or whoever the next OC is going to be, if they can just focus on that aspect, then the product on the field is going to be vastly better as well. Xavier, greetings, salutations, Coach Dan and Duke Crew. Hope. All right, we'll go with some hope. Henry Moore, grit morning, man of grit. Good morning, man of grit indeed. Jen, good morning, all. Exclamation point. Happy Friday. Back at you. Hope you're enjoying work. Jess, I agree on Monty. Brad's wording made it pretty clear to me that the team is about to end their relationship. Maybe if Bonnie takes a pay cut, they would keep him. It is possible, 100%. Jameer, bring him on in. We'll bring him on in. And good morning, Duke Crew. Back at you. Thank you for being a part of the Duke Crew all these years. Hassan Manley, good morning, Coach Dan and Duke Crew. Great team, 100%. And good afternoon, Cairo. Anymore, good morning, Mr. Hassan. Big Eddie. First, Simon McDaniels. Second, Manu was 100% not talked about with any level of confidence by Holmes. I would agree. Third, sad to say, but Brad is all about sad, but David is gone. I'll go with that, 100%. All right, let's go over and get the man, the myth, the legend. You know him, you love him. He's the guy from the other time zone. Let's go over and get to Anthony from Roar Lines UK. And good afternoon to you, Anthony. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, can you hear me all right today?
I can hear you.
Sorry, I'm I'm in a different location to what I normally am today. I got stuck in a snowstorm yesterday, had to ditch my car. I've had to walk 2 miles to my sister's house, and I'm sort of shacked up here at the minute while the snow's down. So hopefully you can all hear me all right.
We can hear you just fine, man. Glad you are okay with it. I know where we're at, we're about to get hit with, I think some reports were saying like 8 to 10 feet of snow in northern Michigan. So that's a lot of snow. Anyways, let's talk about, get your mind off the snowstorms and talk about the Lions. Yeah, I was talking about it. I don't know if you heard it, Anthony, before you came on. There were some reports that came out yesterday, late last night, maybe real early in the morning for you, that Mike McDaniels did respond to the Detroit Lions, saying that he would be open to interviewing if he doesn't get a head coaching opportunity. That being said, how ideal a fit would McDaniels be for this Detroit Lions team?
Oh, I'd love it. He'd be my number one choice, absolutely. He's got a wealth of experience, good calling offensive plays. I think he's got a lot of creativity in there as well, kind of what we need. And I'm very much in favor of having someone who's been a bit outside of the building, because I just feel like we need to freshen up some ideas in system and get a few new voices in there. So I, for one, hope it happens very much. He's kind of the experienced play caller we want, so Dan can go back to looking at the big game plan in general, because I think that's where he excels at, and you want to bring those down. But I would love it. He's my number one by far.
What do you think? We are all going to have different opinions on what makes somebody good or bad or indifferent. But in your view, what would make him an ideal fit here, just from a schematic standpoint?
I think it's just the creativity that he possesses there. Obviously, we've got a lot of weapons here at our disposal, and it sometimes feels like we don't get 100% out of it. So I think he'd be able to unlock everything we do, especially with someone like J-Mo. I know he's coming off his back-to-back 1,000-yard years, but I just feel like you could elevate his game a little bit further. All the motion stuff he does, get him some more touches, get him more involved in the game. I think that would be the part that would stand out. And again, it's just a vast amount of experience that he possesses. But he's got a good track record as an offensive coordinator. I know people who push back on the experience part of it, saying that, John Morton was an experienced OC, but yeah, he was an experienced bad OC. Like, he had no good things on his resume before he came here. Bad experience is different from good experience. And, Mike McDaniel has good experience in the past, and, he knows Dan. They're very much in tune with one another. They've worked together before. So I think it works from a continuity standpoint, but it adds a fresh perspective into the building as well. So, and he'll be looking to prove himself, because if he doesn't get a head coach job this time, he will want one in the future. So it's very much in his interest that he succeeds here. Otherwise, his career's going off a ladder. So I think he's got a lot to prove. It fits the, us versus the world mentality as well. I just think everything works when it comes to him.
When you look across the National Football League, and I get it. If Cleveland, the Raiders, or somebody else offers him a head coaching job, he's not going to come to Detroit. But let's say that's not a possibility. Is there any openings out there, or are there any openings out there that you think their offense has more weapons to work with than the Detroit Lions? What would be enticing for him to take an OC job somewhere else, I guess?
No, I mean, we've been one of the most high-scoring offenses in the league for multiple years now, and we've got so many great weapons. I mean, Isaac Tesla, you're only just beginning to see what he's capable of fully. You've got 2,000-yard receivers here, guaranteed by the year now, 1,000-yard receivers. You've got one of the best running backs in the league. You've got a veteran quarterback. That's the big thing for an OC as well. Having a veteran quarterback who can run the offense. You're not dealing with a rookie who's going to deal with the rookie yips and stuff like that. Goff is playing some of his best football at this moment in time. So you've kind of got everything here that you need. It's a Ferrari that needs the right driver, and he's going to be the guy who can, utilize this to its full being. And, he likes the run game aspect as well. I think he'll give a bit more creativity to the run game that we've lacked this year. Obviously, the offensive line's not been the best in the world, but I think, he likes to use motion, get to the perimeter, stretch the field, stretch defenses more. So even if you go into next year when you've got a new left tackle, maybe a new center, and you've got rookies to deal with, I feel like he'll put him in a good situation to be able to alleviate some of the stresses on the younger guys in there. So, I think, for him, it's a great challenge. And I don't think there'd be a better offense for him to work with out there. Even someone like the Ravens, I just think ours is better. It's got more depth. It's got better players. This is an OC's dream job, really, Oz's, if that's what you wanted. I can't see many better than those.
When you look at the Detroit Lions, especially the Brad Holmes presser yesterday, a lot of questions that went into it. What's going to be the future for the Lions offensive line? And then also Dave Montgomery. In my opinion, he didn't really – I get Brad Holmes doesn't want to give out any kind of leaked information going into these things, but what were your impressions about his comments about the offensive line's future, Dave Montgomery, and I guess you could say the defensive edge as well?
Well, like you say, he never gives up much, and it's very hard to say, but you did get some snippets in there about how they might need to alter their approach a little bit in terms of how they go around the acquisition of players and whatnot. He gave enough of an open door to suggest that maybe they're going to not go all in on next year, but they're going to be a little bit more aggressive to get what they need done. Right. Like you said, with the offensive line, they had some misses. Apparently, they tried to get guys in and they couldn't. And, maybe they should have tried a little harder and then we'd have done a bit better this year. So sometimes you've got to get out your comfort zone of what you're willing to spend to make sure problems don't exist further down the line. So I think he's willing to adapt his approach from what I've heard, but obviously he's not going to go into specifics about how he does it. He doesn't go into the draft looking for specific positions, it's specific players, and he kind of builds around that. That's going to stay the same, but I do think he'll be a little bit more aggressive this time. And you kind of got the realization that he needs to be, because they're a few years removed from the last playoff win now. You've got to show forward progress again. We can't have another year like this and just say, well, this is the long-term plan, it's going to work. You're going to lose the buy-in of the fans and maybe the players as well. So I think he's ready to adapt his approach a little bit, which is what we want. He's done great so far. I love the job, but now you've just got to take that next level, be a little bit more aggressive just to get to where you want to go and not fall behind the chasing pack. So new problems are going to emerge every year. It's not just a case of with 5 or 6 problems to solve this year, then everything hunky-dory. You're going to get 5 or 6 new problems next year, and it's always going to be the case. So sometimes the aggression is a bit more warranted.
If you had a guess right now, if the Lions do sign McDaniels, if he's legitimately considering coming in, which it sounds like as of late last night, as long as he doesn't get a head coaching job, he would target the Detroit Lions. With that being said, he's going to probably get a mammoth contract for an offensive coordinator. In your opinion, does that mean the Lions really are going to redo all these contracts, free up 100 and whatever, 30 million, and go spending in free agency?
I don't think you need to do it all. What that allows for you having so much, because again, Brad's done really well with the cap and the lack of restructures and stuff like that. It means when we've reached a critical point like this where we might have quite a few holes to fill next year, we now have a well to tap into to help fix more of these problems now. You don't need to do all 110, 120 million. If the right players come available in free agency and you need to free up an extra 20, 30 million, you can do that. If a great player becomes available and you need to free up 50 to 60 million, you can do that. You can just it's there for what you need. You don't have to go out and restructure 100 million and use 100 million. Just depending on what the circumstances, what players available, what you need to spend, you can free up what you need, and you're still not really hurting yourself down the line because we've got so little restructures on the book. Even if you do 40, 50 million down the line, you spread it out. It's not that much. The cap's going to keep going up. So that's the great position I think we're in at the minute. We've got plenty of room to add to this team and not affect the long-term cap or all the extensions that are about to come for the 23 draft class. So yeah, I think we're in a great position with it, but it's fluid. I won't put an exact number down on how much you restructure. You use it according to the situations that will appear in free agency.
If you were the GM for the Detroit Lions, let me ask you this. Let's just say you free up, 80 million or something and spend it. I'm assuming that gets you 3-4 players at least. What would you target for this team in free agency?
I mean, I know the big ones, obviously, if the Ravens let Tyler Linderbaum go, you would go and get him. Like, I think center's a huge position, and we've seen it no more than with Ragnow being out. I would put a lot of investment in that center position, be it Linderbaum or my first pick in the draft. And I mean the first pick in the draft because we've seen just how much of a difference it makes. I've no interest in moving Tate there. I go and get the best center in the draft, or I go and get the best center in free agency. And I make that a pressure point because, it lives and dies with the offensive line. Then you look at your tackle situation. Again, you're probably wanting to spend a pick high on the draft, but I think you need a vet in there as well. So you would scour the market and see what's available. You need to get the right mixture of youth and experience. But certainly center and left tackle, depending on what Decker does. But even if Decker comes back, I'm still spending high on a backup because I don't think his body can withstand the rigors of a 17-game season now. And from everything he's said, it's just you need a backup plan in place. But the offensive line's the critical key more than anything else, more than defense, more than anything. We've got to get the line fixed so we can get the run game fixed, so we can get the offense coming, time of possession, all that sort of stuff. That's where I'm investing most of my assets, and then I'll work out around that what else I need. But yeah, it'd be center and left tackle first, and I would spend a lot of money on it if need be.
One last question I got for you, and then I know you got to get back to getting warm and getting ready for more snow. If the Detroit Lions do go out and try to get a Mike McDaniels or somebody similar to him, really make that kind of commitment to hiring an expensive OC, do you think they double down and go after somebody for the defensive side, or is Kelvin Shepherd safe?
I would like to think he's safe. He showed me enough in the early part of the season where, he adapted during games. I mean, he made good adjustments at the half. I've not forgotten this. We all remember the bad second half of the year, but I remember the good first half. And, for me, he retained his duties all year. It wasn't like he was relieved of his duties halfway through like Morton was. I think I've seen enough from him to be able to say, he's got a future there. What I would do is I would bring in, like Aaron Glenn had Dom Capers to come in and help him when he started. Just that veteran voice in the room to give him another perspective, to give him advice, just to help him out really, because he is a rookie. But for all, I do believe in Kelvin. I said a long time ago, there's two people I've run through a wall for in this building. It'd be Dan and it'd be Kelvin. I do truly believe that he will make it to the top in spite of everyone thinking he won't. So I've no interest in changing the defensive side of the ball. I would just get, some form of analyst in to help him, someone who's experienced, someone who's got a bit of now. Don't ask me who right now because I'm not sure who's available, but I would certainly look into that. But no, I would keep Kelvin there. But I would put a big I would go big on the offensive coordinator. That's what matters, because it frees Dan up to do the rest of his job. That's the key here, freeing Dan up to do his game management as he needs to. I think that's the best thing for this team and what it needs right now.
All right. Anthony, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out to everywhere they can find you when you're not snowed in, and help support you, your great content, and all the things you do. And hey, thanks for braving the elements to be a part of the Duke Crew this morning.
No worries. I know I've let you down a few times, and I apologize about that. Life's just been very hectic. And then I saw your message today, and I'm snowed. I'm like, no, I'm going to come and do it regardless. But yeah, you can find me at Roar of the Lions UK. We're a group of Detroit Lions fans from across the pond. So if you want to come and get your Lions news and views from a British perspective, then come check us out. We're usually more of a professional setup than this, but you have to make do with me as we do today. But I talk college football on Wednesdays. If you like your college football, we talk about Lions games, stuff like that. So yeah, check us out, Roar Lions UK. Appreciate you, Dan, as always. Appreciate the Duke Crew. I hope you all had a lovely Christmas. I hope you've all had a great New Year, and hope things are all going well. And yeah, I'm going to go and try and make my way home now. I'm stranded about 5 miles from home. I don't know if I can see I don't know if it'll show you the weather out there, but yeah, it's deep anyhow. So yeah, that's my next job for the day. Try and get home, but enjoy yourselves anyhow.
Hey, be safe, man. And hey, anybody watching this, go support Anthony, man. He really does great work. I mean, I'm blessed to have him, Kurt Steele, and a number of other people come on the show. They really do phenomenal work. So if you enjoy the Lions, if you enjoy college football, go check them out. Anthony, just stay warm and embrace that challenge to get home, man.
I will do. Take care, everybody. Bye.
We'll see you now. All right, that is Anthony from Roar Lions UK. And again, go check him out. Let's get to the Duke Crew comment section. We got about 10 minutes left. Big M, did he though, Eddie? We'll find out. Coach Rock, Brad just said the things that needed to be said. We got to work on this speech. Yes, yeah, typical coach type talk. DM5, what do you got? The Lions better not go with Blau for OC. We need a proven play caller. That is where I'm thinking as well. JK, need to get the right players to consistently play zone more. I would concur. That's why in my one mock draft I've had so far, I went a little bit bigger, especially and more athletic in the quarterback position. More Richard Sherman, I guess you could say, corners. All right, Don Burt, Thomas, is there an O-line that much better, or is the scheme playing their strengths? Question mark. Seeing Mahogany and Glasgow trying to pull was dreadful. One is older, the other fresh off injury. That's coaching. I would probably agree with that in some facets, at least. Belt up, Brad is 1 year behind with his draft picks. Should have picked Cooper Beebe to replace Ragnow. I know I've talked about this in the past, and not to keep beating it up. I just think if there's one good thing about the Frank Ragnow situation, the Lions learned from it. They're not going to let Taylor Decker wait until free agency and after the draft to make the choice. I really feel like Frank Ragnow probably didn't do it intentionally, but the Lions should have, said to him, hey, we didn't need to know fully your intentions before free agency hits, because we need to know if we need to move on here from now. When he didn't do it, they had limited options unless they were going to egregiously overpay for somebody. That impacted the season big time. Pierce should have just had JPJ or Breakstraw. Yeah, probably. Silver Server, Attila the Hun, you really want that center, but do you know, question mark, I can understand where you are coming from with the same old Lions thing. Let's hope the draft is a monster center at least. Okay. JK, plan C is for McGurl. We'll go with that. DM5, Brad Holmes is like Sears competing with Amazon and Walmart. All right. Pierce, how I read it, Brad wants to bring DTI back. I don't know, man. We will wait and see, my friend. Coach Rock, hoping MCDC and McDaniels are best of friends. Seems that's how you get into Detroit. Did they coach together before somewhere? Not that I'm aware of, but I could be not aware of something. Thomas, Brandon's pressure looks and sounded pathetic. He looked to me clueless as to go about the future, and he opened the door to boot Monty. Now going to overload Gibbs, huge mistake. We'll find out what's going to happen for sure. Don Burt Pierce, just wanted to look at JPJ yesterday, praying we trade for him. Yeah, Jackson Powers, yeah. But new regime in Vegas probably will keep him. Probably, yeah. If they feel they've got something there, they're probably not going to let him go unless you overpay. Big M, Brad going to run it back with Davenport. Just wait for it. I think we're all chomping at that bit. Stephen, greetings, salutations, Coach Dan and Duke Crew. Brand Holmes is on the hot seat. I would agree with that. He's got a hit on whatever he does this offseason. Dan Campbell has a hit on the OC. They're feeling that heat. And I know I've already mentioned it, but I think they both were aware you can't have back-to-back down seasons. Pierce, Don Burr, how you been, man? Been a while? It has been a while, I feel like. At least so maybe close to a week since Don's been here. Big M, I agree. Thomas, Pierce, Don Burr, one whiff really made me bad from Brad. JPJ could have played left guard for a year before moving over when Frank returned. 100%, I get it. Hindsight's 2020 for sure. Ryder, what do you got? I believe MCDC and McDaniels have a prior relationship. Thank you for that. My friend wasn't sure. Go Spider-Man, by the way, from your thumbnail. Don Burr, Pierce, been great. I love this time of the year. Draft, free agent, and watch college tape on players. Nothing wrong with that. Hookadoo. If Brad doesn't trade Davenport, I will. Okay. Until I shake my head and our fans basing everything on yesterday's presser and believing everything is gospel. Yeah, I would say most GMs or whoever's going to take the mic this time of year, they're going to be pretty guarded with what they say. They're not going to let any kind of real news out unless they happen to slip up. Sir, Pierce, Zach Frazier was real good one, I thought, but Lions didn't move to get him, and a few picks later got Rakestraw and saw how that went. Okay, yeah, nobody's going to bat 1,000, though. I'll say that. Thomas, did no one notice that the last 8+ games where Knuckles' yards per rush were way better than Sox? I think most people did notice that. Pierce, Silver Server, Jackson Powers is also a monster in the middle. Agreed? JK, I'll trade Davenport for Iffy all day. I'll give Iffy another chance and have him play defensive end. Okay. Number JPJ is only 22 also now. Phil, good morning. Back at you, Phil. Coach Rock. You could get a proven center from him, Hookadoo. Yes, we probably will go after somebody in free agency. At least that's my anticipation. Okay, only a couple minutes left. I'm going to power through, get people on who haven't been on as much. D-Dunk, why are so many people talking about Flores? Question mark. He is current DC. Am I missing something? His contract expires at the end of the season. He is rumored to get probably a few different options. I don't know if he'll get the head coaching opportunity that he desires because of his ongoing litigation against the NFL. I just think that's going to be a no-fly zone with some teams. I've been wrong before, though. Sir, thumbs up, but he was picked earlier than Frazier. Phil, how long would he stay? If you're talking about Mike McDaniels, if he has a real good 1 year, I think he's one and done. Maybe get 2 on the outside. Virgil Green, what do you got? Keep money. Exclamation, not his fault. Strength and offensive line. Get OC. I like the way you're thinking. Looking for others that haven't been on here. Ryder, attack offensive line free agency and focus on defense in the draft. That was my game plan as well, just so you know. Wilson, what do you got? 07. I don't even understand how they could even contemplate training Monty. I don't know, but it does feel like something's wrong there or off there. Maybe that's a better way to put it. DM5 writer, Brad is too cheap to do that. Okay, we'll take that one off the board. JK got to question why there were jobless in the first place. Yeah, maybe. Okay, that's right, Rock. The non-livers, are the coach's salaries part of the salary cap? They are not. I don't believe they are, but not really sure. Exclamation mark. Pay McDaniels. Yes, yeah, coaches don't have a cap, so you can go after them fully. Thomas, dudes, exclamation mark. Scratch my head. Who is Jackson Powers Johnson? If I'm saying that name right, but yeah, I think you get the gist. Dennis, coaches' salaries are not a part of the cap. That is correct. It is a player's cap. Thomas is thankful with a thumbs up. Don Bird Pierce, not too late to get him, but while Pete Carroll there was a perfect time to strike for Jackson Powers Johnson. Man, I'm killing that. Didn't like him. Yes. Don Lavers, that's what I thought. Durant, thanks, man. Anytime. Let's see. Other people. Chuck, see Ben Johnson's comments to love that they didn't spend any time or anything but game prep. Found that pretty cheeky of him to say that after last year. Yes, indeed. JK, 1 year rental for Zedarius was cheap. It was. Now, Lavers, thanks, Pierce. I didn't think they were. Queen Mary, good afternoon. Anthony. Yes, Anthony has left the building. 8 to 10 feet. I think that's what I saw in report. Maybe it was 8 to 10 inches. I don't know, man. I'm going off memory here. Miss Emily, in hindsight, Ben knew Chicago wanted him, and he wanted them. I think that interview was more along the lines of, can you set me up with a good real estate agent? Hey, I could have helped him out, and unfortunately, he didn't call me. Belt, Brad, 1 year behind with his picks in 24. Should have taken Xavier Liggett over Terry Arnold. Drafted Nate Wiggins in 25. Should have taken Cooper Beebe and replaced Frank Rano instead of Isaac T. Huh? It is what it is. Nobody's going to bat 1,000 in hindsight. Hey, we're all right? Let's see, DM5, last two draft Brads was acting like he won the Super Bowl. No more project picks and reaching for players. Draft picks that can play right away. All right, we'll see if they can do that. Kim McDaniels and our offensive line will look different next year. We need to reevaluate. I agree. Dr. Troy, 30th ranked defense and the offensive line needs major attention. Brad Cook. Maybe he didn't cook well. Old school. Draft the center from Iowa. He's a beast. We'll check him out. Big M. Potentially a lot of holes on this team depending on the retirement and injuries. I agree with that. Looking for other people. I haven't been on a ton. Two Pete's in the pot, says JK. D Dunk. No, they aren't far off. Not sure if people can't see it. I don't think it will take a whole lot to fix it, but I do think there are a few things for sure. Big M. Manu's first move is straight up. Watch him. He doesn't use his size or leverage. Now, there's some stuff to correct for sure. Phil, I don't know, Don. The missing pieces will be tough to fill in. We'll see what they can do, though. do makes you think Silver Surfer, just low. If we had Campbell, Flores, and McDaniel would have the Fire Dolphins Coaches Club. All right, we could have the Fire Dolphins Coaches Club. Steve, what we got? Sad Brad doesn't have a plan. Let's hope he does, but maybe he's just not revealing it yet. JD Nix agreed. Don Burke, Kerry, morning Silver, just a bit slow today. I think we all are maybe a little bit slow today. Come on to the D. We need OC ASAP. I like the way you are foretelling of the future. Max McDaniels was a head coach before. He was at Miami. Not anymore, though. Merrick McDaniels is going to get a head coaching job. It's possible. I'm just not sure of it. Don Burr or trade to Vegas for center. JPJ for center. Phil, is there another fail next year? How hot do Dan and Brad seats get? I would think they'd be flamethrower hot at that point. In 5 to 10 wins next year, Brad has let every team catch up to us. And from his presser yesterday, he is clueless. Okay, just Littles. Marcus injury report has got to go. Hookadoo. Max for Miami. All right. Doug Kong. I think McDaniels gets bucked to head coach jobs and takes Washington's OC job. Could be. Ben, what do you got? Doesn't need to be a leader of men. We have Dan. Yes, correct. That was where, in my opinion, McDaniels would be a better fit now as an OC because he would be absolved from that. Lavers, I would say to let go to Washington. We get Blau for OC. All right. Ben, we need an offensive mind. I would agree for your OC. Anymore, they got that much snow in Great Britain. Apparently so, man, and I'm just glad he's safe. Ben, David Blau. That's a name that's been thrown around a little bit. Silver Server, Kerry, you kidding? Exclamation point. Hard to keep up. Exclamation point. Give him blank check. Yeah, I think you're going to have to, Stephen, 100%. Number Dan Campbell, John Morton were friends. They were friends and maybe a little less friendly now. Belled up on Mike McDaniels, the best candidate for the OC, then Pete Carroll. Okay. Until in the hunt, Pete Carroll might not even live out the season. He's so old. He is getting up there, but man, very, very spry. Easy. Anthony knows ball. He does indeed. Gary, I repeat, I do not see them getting McDaniels because it would change the whole scheme. And, all right, Phil, snowbound in England. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the northern hemisphere is getting hit. Kerry, philosophy of the team. Thomas, hey, Dan, exclamation point. You're a speed reader. Holy smokes. Sometimes I try to read fast so I can make it through the comment section. DM5, hope I'm wrong, but I'd see 5-10 wins next year. Does anyone see over 10? Hey, way too early, but I'll go at 12 right now. How about that? Thomas Elbow dropped the like y'all. Thank you for that. Gritty Dewey. Quite frankly, I'm tired of watching DC in those reading glasses. Let's get McDaniels in here to get Super Bowl. I like that. I like it indeed. Eddie, but David almost punched St. Brown. It happens. David Ragnow indeed. Bo Booth, Alpha Dogs snarling at each other. Oh my gosh, it happens. It happens probably more than we all think. Silver Service McDaniels going to get paid, therefore he will call plays. But if Cable wants to call plays himself, then they might get somebody like Blau. Yeah, if they're going to keep MCDC as the OC, then they're not going to spend big money on someone like McDaniels. And then what do you got? Depends on what we do in the draft. Free agency, DM5. If we take care of things, then I think we definitely win the North and maybe more. Big M. Brad knew Frank might retire for a couple of years. Brad failed to have a young center in the pipeline. Learning from Frank, Brad dropped the ball. I would agree with that. Let's see, David. Ragnow Decker giving me deja vu. Probably some similarities. Belt up. Pete Carroll went to the Super Bowls and won one. How many trips to the Super Bowls and other candidates have? That I don't know without doing some deep diving work. Max, Why would Campbell call plays? Nobody wants that. Belt up. I'll wait. All right. DM5. Don Bird, just remember what I said. Amy, well, I found out why I'm so sick. My son just had the flu. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully you're feeling better. Big M, wishing everyone a blessed day. Thanks for reading my comments to those who did. God bless. Don Burr, DM5, I will and laugh while we win the North again. Remember this post. So, Amy, my daughter-in-law, I both have the COVID. Hey, hopefully you both do well and fine. DM5, okay, Don Burr, we shall see. Easy. Ben saying he's locked in for 5 games till Super Bowl, but look at the job interview during the playoff last year. Yes, indeed. That is a point of contention for Lions fans. Hugdo, well, get better. Amy, exclamation point. Let's see, pick 85-26. What I don't like about Detroit Lions content creators is that their bottom line is always do this or you're going to get fired. It's extremely negative. I try to be positive, Pete, here, so I can't speak for anybody else. So, DM5 TV, rest, Amy, rest, yeah, feel better. David, have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Coach. Let's go, Lions, and back at you, my friend. Let's see, Carpenter bag. What do you got? Just want to make money, not win a Super Bowl. Let's hope they make money winning a Super Bowl. How about that? Double down on it. All right, just a couple more, and then we're out of here. Easy. We need a proven center. In my opinion, we don't have time to develop, but we honestly might not have a choice. Yes, I think they'll try to get somebody in free agency. Whether or not you can get somebody, that will be the question. Anthony, good morning, Duke Group. Back at you. Glad you're winning. Any more? Have a glorious day, my friends. Get well. Amy, we'll chat with you tomorrow. Anthony, where are you, broski? He has not been anywhere since last week's game. Gary, happy trails. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy your playoffs. Woo! Back at you, Hugadoo. Still haven't heard from him, Anthony. No, he has been MIA. Anthony, don't be ducking me now. He is ducking. Dolo Donovan, McDaniels or Blau. I agree. Easy free agent center, tackle, first round is what I do. We'll see if they do it. Brand is full of stuff as well. I concur. Anthony, no, he was in the chat and didn't respond. He was in the chat. Okay, sorry about that. Phil, Brosi not bothering with a last place Lions team. I think he's ducking the fact that he lost. Let's face it, the Bears in division have a worse record than the Lions in division. There's that. Hoodoo must be Broski laughing out loud. Chuck, South UK got hit, but Scotland, it's 36 degrees and raining. Yeah, it's raining where I'm at right now, too, in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And they just need to pay up is all. David, I agree with you, 12 wins. Hey, thank you for that. T. Martinez, what do you got? The McDaniel going to head coaching position? He's going to try for sure. Easy. Fun fact, Ben and Blau was taught by the same offensive coach in college. Phil, could it be Monty will take the locker room problem this year? We'll find out. What do you do? Hey, had a bet with Anthony. He had a bet with Anthony Creed. David, Monty State, I think he is. Let's hope so. J-Mo Lion King, what do you got? I don't think we would bring a new scheme in already using Gibbs 2.0. We'll find out. Martinez, let's see. Currently 8 NFL head coaching spots. Open and McDaniels would take one. It's possible. Benjamin Brewer, Johnson was an offensive genius. Campbell, just offensive. McDaniel, wife refused to come to Michigan. All right. And see, Dennis. Happy trails, my friends. See you in the morning. Exclamation point, one pride. Phil, Ben has a history of choking in important games. We'll find out if he can do it again. Brad Holmes gave a terrible press conference yesterday. Yeah, not everybody liked it for sure. Hugadoo, I think Broski is here in a fake account. Anthony, might be possible. All right, guys, if there is breaking news later today, I'll get it to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, if you would be so kind, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay warm if you get hit by the snow or the rain. And we'll see you guys on the next Lions Talk Live. Have a great day, everybody.
Excuse me, sir. Would you... Donations to the Reverend Moon? Juice for Jesus? Read about Jehovah's Witness? How about Buddhism? How Jerry's kids? Oh, yeah. Scientology? Or nuclear power?